Today we're talking about buyer psychology. More specifically, the psychology of someone that's coming from an inbound marketing funnel versus an outbound marketing funnel. The largest organizations out there have sales specialization. That means they have sales team members dedicated to various funnels and, more specifically, various calls to action within those funnels. However, companies in the building or growing phase do not have that luxury. They don't have the capital and they don't have the manpower to handle these nuances in engagement strategy or a sales journey. So today we're going to discuss ways that your team can be empowered to handle the buyer psychology of both an inbound and outbound funnel. Let's get started. We are going to discuss the psychology of inbound buyers versus outbound buyers, then how to approach these two groups, and finally, the expectations you should have from these two prospective audiences. But before we do that, let's put a little appreciation and attention to what's happening upstream before you have a discovery call with either group. On an inbound funnel, you're talking about marketing who has a persona identified, is creating content and material that speaks to the pain points of that persona, and then distributing it through a number of different channels. Maybe they're using it for search engine optimization. Maybe they're paying for advertisements. Maybe they're doing social media posts or soliciting webinar registrations or white paper downloads. But the group that is approaching the organization through those channels is considered inbound, and usually the assumption is they've identified the pain points that the material and the content is designed for. On an outbound funnel, you're typically talking about a sales development representative, SDR, who can start from an ideal customer profile, an ICP, and has a list of companies or contacts that might be good prospective buyers. The SDR then creates mass email or personalized email and engages in a cadence of email, phone, and social to gain interest from this ICP. And there is the key differentiator between both funnels. In one funnel, your prospective buyers have identified a pain point and are searching for a solution. In the other funnel, in your outbound funnel, you don't have that. The pain point might be identified and they might be in search of a solution, but more often than not, there is interest. There is interest in learning more. And this is the psychology that we're going to cover next. Let's look at the psychology of an inbound prospect. An inbound prospect, in many ways, has already self-identified as having a pain point. They wouldn't be coming to your company, they wouldn't be scheduling a discovery call with you if there wasn't a pain point. But this scenario puts them in a very unique position of power because they're often not going to one vendor. They're searching for numerous vendors that can solve that problem. And those discovery calls is a mission of giving as little information as possible and pulling out as much information about the vendor's pricing, terms and conditions, and ultimately the scope of work that they're about to engage in. And the sad part is buyers on this inbound channel and funnel, they have this mindset that they want to have one discovery call and then take 5, 6, 7 vendors and whittle it down to 2 or 3 after that discovery call. And so that does put you in a very unique position. It's a position where you have to provide information, but you can't just look at the opportunities to pitch and sell yourself. You have to work very hard at engaging them and pulling information out. And we'll discuss that here in a second. Let's talk about the outbound prospect. Your outbound prospect has not identified as having a pain point. Might they have a pain point? 100% they might have a pain point. Your SDR could have reached out to them at the perfect time. However, they are 95% of the time coming to you to validate their interest. They are not coming to you to solve a problem and to fill that solution or to fill that pain point with your solutions, right? They're coming to you because there were a few keywords that they picked up on from the outbound marketing and the outbound call or email, and those keywords resonated with them, and it was enough to take a 20 to 30 minute call. Now, what they don't want on that call is a demonstration of a solution. What they want on that call is to validate that their interest and their listening ears were on point. And so as a salesperson, don't treat these two parties the same. The psychology and what is actually happening is very, very different. And make sure that you're looking at them with different expectations of what you have out of that first call. The expectations should be unique to the funnel that they're coming in from and the campaigns that message to either generate their interest or to solicit that inbound approach. So appreciate that on both groups. And let's discuss now how to actually take those two groups into this discovery call and leverage as much information as you can from them to create the best outcomes for yourself in a conversion. How you handle these two audiences is unique, but there is this chronological moment when the two audiences align. And in order to explain this, I want to start with the outbound prospects. Remember, your outbound prospects probably do have this pain point that you can solve. They just haven't identified it for themselves to the point that they're searching for a vendor of choice. And so in order to get them to that point where they say, this is actually a significant problem, I do need to solve this problem, and that's where your inbound prospects are usually meeting you, you need to go through two important steps. Now, the first step is a simple question. If we were to get off this call in the next 10 minutes, what are you looking to learn? You ask that question because there's two things that are going to occur. The psychology of them getting off that call in 10 minutes is rather exciting. And second, the thing that they share is typically what they need to carry themselves into your sales journey, or the thing that they'll need to sign a contract at the end of a sales journey. The next thing you're going to need is third-party validation. What that first question does is it opens dialogue. And it opens dialogue to where you know pain already exists, and the prospect is trying to validate and understand how that pain is happening within their organization. And so as a thought leader, you are not going to come with validation from your perspective of your brand and your organization. You need to come with validation from a third party. And that typically is a market research, or even people who match the persona of this particular individual. So you start with that question, you lead into market validation, and hopefully where you land is that prospect on the outbound channel saying, yes, I recognize that this is a problem for me. Now they are at the point of where your inbound prospects are. And this is where you come in with a sales journey. You have a sales journey that creates an immense amount of value for them without a lot of lift on their end. You make it easy for them to say yes. Your sales journey should feel unique, and it should feel as if it provides an immense amount of detail to how they are going to solve that problem. And it should also not be a heavy lift. You should make it feel light and natural and a part of a process. And we're going to get into that process here in a second. The next thing you want to do with your audience is talk about the buyer's guide. Now, your inbound market is asking a lot of questions, and your outbound market is now validated that there's a problem, but they don't know what questions to ask. And so what you're going to do is have a marketing piece, a sales enablement piece called a buyer's guide. And so for your inbound group, as they're peppering you with a lot of questions that they are asking all the vendors, you're going to validate that they're all incredible questions and you're happy to answer them. And then after that, you're also going to tell them that there is a buyer's guide designed to help them see and ask questions that they didn't think of before. Now, that buyer's guide also supports your outbound prospects. And the buyer's guide should be unique in a few ways. The first, it should be tailored to elevate the business, to elevate how you solve problems uniquely and how other vendors might not be able to solve those problems in that particular way. Next thing you're going to do is talk about a process. And this is where you bring everything together. That sales journey is a process. The onboarding experience that you create for your client is a process. The way you solve that solution is a process. People are in market and they are putting capital into things that are proven. And they do not want solutions that are fly by night. They want solutions that are tied to a system in which they feel it will get them to point B, C, and D. And so through this sales engagement, what you're really explaining to them is we have a process here. First, we identify that you have a problem. Second, we validate that this problem is something that we can solve for. And then lastly, we work through solving this problem in our sales journey to make sure that everyone is getting what they need and the expectations are being met. These are the stages in which you're going to carry both your outbound and your inbound prospects through into future stages of your sales funnel. Expectations. What should your sales expectations be of your outbound versus your inbound? Well, there's a good rule of thumb, and this varies based on industry, quality of your sales team, and really the quality of your sales journey and the funnels in which are bringing these groups in. But a good rule of thumb that I like to follow is outbound will deliver half of the conversion rates and twice the sales cycle length as inbound. That is to say, if your inbound sales cycle length is 30 days and your conversion rate is 20%, that means a good expectation for your outbound conversion rate should be 10% and the sales cycle length should be 60 days. So just factor that into your forecasting methodology and also use that as a metric for how you can control those sales cycle lengths and optimize that outbound for length of sale and conversion rate. We touched the tip of the iceberg on how to handle these two different prospects across these two funnels. In an ideal world, what we're really doing is we're breaking down the inbound channels that led to that discovery call and the outbound campaigns and expectations within those campaigns that led to that outbound discovery call. Additionally, you're going to want to look at the expectations post-discovery call uniquely for both of those situations. As I mentioned earlier, very large organizations don't have the same salespeople managing calls from both funnels. Your fast-growing and mature companies are typically hiring sales specialized people who can approach each of those funnels uniquely, and they have unique sales journeys with sales enablement material to support each of those journeys. So in an ideal world, you are investing a lot more time and effort to the A to Z of each of those journeys, but for the purposes of fast-growing companies who don't have that luxury, pay attention to the psychology of those buyers coming in, validate what their purpose is in taking a call, and support them, and the rest will fall into place. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. It's truly a pleasure to bring this to you. If you have any questions, please comment, share this whoever you can, and have a great day.